Some promises are kept in ways you never expect. Margaret Whitfield was 23 years old when she married the only man she ever truly loved. The morning after the wedding, she woke up in an empty bed, in an empty room, in a house that suddenly felt like it belonged to a stranger. Daniel was gone. No note, no phone call, no explanation. Just a wedding ring left on the nightstand, catching the early light like it was mocking her. For weeks, Margaret told herself he would come back. For months, she told herself there had to be a reason. And for 40 years, she told herself she was fine even when the neighbors whispered, even when her own mother begged her to move on, even when every version of the story people told her ended with the same 3 words: he left her. She never remarried. She never fully explained why, not even to herself. She simply built a quiet life out of the pieces he left behind, and she learned to stop asking questions nobody could answer until the box arrived. It was a Tuesday morning, unremarkable in every way, when a courier knocked on her door and handed her a small, weathered wooden box. No return address, just her name, written in handwriting she hadn't seen in 4 decades. Her hands shook before she even opened it. Inside were letters, dozens of them, some yellowed with age, some strangely new. Photographs she had never seen of herself, taken from a distance, at moments she barely remembered. A small brass key with no visible lock. And on top of it all, a single line in Daniel's unmistakable handwriting. If you're reading this, it's finally safe to tell you the truth. The first letter was dated 6 weeks after their wedding. In it, Daniel confessed something Margaret never imagined. Before their wedding, he had stumbled onto financial records that didn't add up numbers tied to men with more power than conscience. Men who were quietly siphoning fortunes from people who trusted them completely. Daniel hadn't gone looking for danger. Danger had found him, buried inside a spreadsheet he wasn't supposed to see. He tried to walk away from it. He couldn't. The people involved didn't forgive witnesses, and the moment Daniel realized what he knew could get Margaret hurt, he made a decision that would define the rest of his life. He disappeared, so she wouldn't have to. The second letter revealed something that made Margaret's breath catch. For years, whenever her small bakery nearly went under, an anonymous investor had quietly kept it alive. She always assumed it was luck. It wasn't luck. It was Daniel, watching from a distance, refusing to let her fall. She sat with that letter for a long time before she could open the next one. The letters continued, each one a piece of a life she never knew existed. Daniel living under new names in new cities. Daniel testifying, quietly and dangerously, against men who could make people vanish. Daniel building a life that looked nothing like a home, because a home meant roots, and roots meant Margaret could be found through him. Every year, on their anniversary, he wrote to her. He never sent a single letter, not until now. The third letter answered a question that had haunted her for 2 decades. The year she was diagnosed with an illness that drained both her body and her savings, a mysterious donor covered every medical bill in full. She had cried with relief back then, never knowing who to thank. Now, she knew, and somehow, the answer hurt more than the mystery ever had. Then came the letter about the house. 3 years ago, when the bank came dangerously close to taking the home Margaret and Daniel had bought together as newlyweds, an unnamed buyer purchased it at auction and quietly transferred the deed back into her name. She thought it was a stroke of impossible luck. It wasn't luck. It never was. It was a man who spent 40 years protecting a woman from the shadows, because loving her from a distance was the only way he could keep her safe. The key in the box, Daniel explained, opened a small storage unit at a private museum 3 hours outside the city, a place tied to his final years, when the danger had finally passed and age had caught up with him faster than freedom ever did. Margaret didn't hesitate. She followed his handwriting through cities she never expected to visit, a luxury hotel where he had once hidden for 6 months under a name that wasn't his, a mountain cabin where he had spent a winter learning to live with the silence he'd chosen, an old train station where, in one letter, he admitted he almost boarded a train back to her and lost his courage at the very last second. Each location held a small memory. Each memory held a fragment of a man who never stopped being her husband, even when the world believed otherwise. At the museum, in a private viewing room reserved under her name, Margaret found the final piece, a single recording made just months before the letters were sent. On the screen, Daniel appeared older than she remembered, his face lined with time and the particular exhaustion of a man who had spent decades looking over his shoulder. His eyes, though, hadn't changed at all. He spoke slowly, like a man who knew this would be the only time his voice reached her in 40 years. He told her the danger had finally ended. The men who once threatened everything had been exposed, arrested, or quietly erased from power by the very evidence he spent his life protecting. He was free, legally and completely, for the first time since their wedding day. But time, he said, had not been as patient as he was. He told her, gently, that by the time she watched this recording, he would already be gone, not taken, not silenced, simply reaching the natural end of a long and complicated life. He said he had asked for the box to be delivered only after his passing, because he refused to let her spend her final years torn between two lives, waiting for a man who might never fully return. He wanted her to be free too. His last words weren't an apology. They were something far more powerful. He told her that every vow he made on their wedding day had been kept. In sickness, he had been there, even if she never saw him. In hardship, he had provided, even if she never knew his name on the check. For better or worse, richer or poorer, he had simply loved her from a distance instead of beside her, because that distance was the only gift he had left to give. Margaret sat alone in that quiet room, 40 years of grief, anger, and love finally converging into a single, overwhelming truth. She hadn't been abandoned. She had been protected every single day by a man who loved her too much to let her share his danger, and too much to ever stop watching over her life. As the recording faded to black, Margaret whispered something into the empty room, something she hadn't said out loud in 40 years. I know. Some people spend a lifetime searching for proof that they were loved. Margaret spent 40 years living inside that proof without ever realizing it. And in the end, that was Daniel's real wedding gift. Not the box, not the letters, not even the truth. It was the quiet, unshakable certainty that even in his absence, she was never once alone.